Overall, I think this is a very progressive step towards redefining our democratic country.
I'm not tired of it. We are always doing it, but we are never...
No, there's a difference here, Samson. This third committee, the Prempeh committee, I think they've shown a real difference between themselves and the previous bodies. And also the level of commitment I see in this process by the executive, by the president, if I should be specific, is different. The level of commitment is different. In fact, when they submitted their report, and he did admit that they had gone previously to brief him, but so he came there knowing exactly what the recommendations are. He did not raise any objection to anything. All he said was that we are going to send this to the implementation committee. He didn't mention white paper as we used to know in the past. And he did not raise any objection to any of the recommendations. So that impressed me that at least he is personally committed. And he did say, this is what Ghanaians say they want, you see. And putting the whole thing on the laps of Ghanaians, for me, was very impressive. And that's why I see this as a difference. I know, I'm aware of the many reactions, which is good, because the whole idea for this committee and others is for Ghanaians to participate and contribute to its strength. So what they have proposed are certainly not final. It's going to go through the mail of public criticisms and other kinds of things before we come to the final conclusion. But so far, I think reaction generally has been good, but I know of specific cases where people are not happy. Like my good friend Inusa said about the 5-year thing. And you know, first of all, there's no magic about the duration of office. There's no magic. Every country, every democratic country chooses the period that they think suits their context. So let's be aware of that. It's not what the Americans do that we should do. After all, Great Britain has no limitation. You can be prime minister for 20 years, so far as people want you to be there.
You can be there for a year.
Oh, yes, as we saw, exactly, as we saw in the rest of...
Or even less than a year.
Less than that.
2 months.
Exactly. Right. That is that. And those who are 4 years and they are tied down... And
so what? Are we going to bury our heads in the sand like the ostrich and say there was never a problem when actually it had been identified as a problem because of the unbridled campaign periods that presidents and executives governments were subjected to?
You see, if you take the proposal for the 5 years in isolation, then you're going to have a lot of problems. Yeah. But if you take in the larger context of the recommendations, where the fear I've read recently of you're extending the corruption, you're extending 1 year of all kinds of negativities. But they forget that within the larger context, they have also proposed, made some proposals that will delimit the power of the president.
Right.
Because it's the power of appointments that tend to create these issues that we're talking about. So, including
the Independent Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission,
all these are
which will become the bigger OSP.
Yes.
So if you are stealing, you'll be in trouble. Yes. And again, they are taking away the president's, long immunity from civil action, and also extending the period within which you can take them on criminally once they leave office.
Right. So by so doing, they have placed the president in a different kind of context. That now there are other mechanisms to check your behavior, as well as the kinds of policies you want to initiate. So I think if you take in that context, there should be worry about the 5 years, because there are mechanisms to check excesses. The only thing I didn't see is perhaps a way to even recall a president who misbehaves badly, like some Americans have found themselves in today, So I think overall, I'm happy with the process. Of course, I personally, I didn't like the idea of reducing the age from 40 to 30, because I think at 30 years, we don't have enough maturity. Pardon me for those who think I'm wrong, but I think if you take the Ghanaian context into account, for instance, you finish school, well, some do finish school very early, but most Ghanaians from the villages as I come from, by the time you finish your first degree, you are almost 27, 28. And even if by then you have finished your master's, what experience do you have? What exposure have you had to run the country. And run the country is not running Nook's organization.
So that's the difficulty about the democracy, right?
That's right.
Because as we speak, I have received statements from among those who were championing this particular proposal, reduction in the year, to be able to contest.
Yeah.
The youth groups, they are excited.
Yeah.
That's at least now, from 30, they can be thinking about becoming president.
And I think they have every right to be excited. They have to be excited. But know what I know, and at my age, I know that 30 years simply you haven't attained the age of maturity to run a nation. That's what I'm talking about.
So let the people determine that you are 30, you are too young, you are inexperienced, we don't want you.
At least people like you and I are around providing some kind of guidance. Because if democracy was to let people have what they want, we are going to be in a chaos. We are going to have a chaotic situation, society. So there's always the need for people like you and I to provide the kind of guidance that will be needed to make sure, even if a majority of people are opposed to it, there's a certain wisdom that should help us to know.
They have asked questions. If I can be in parliament at 30, why can't I be president at 30? After all, the qualification to be president, part of it is that I'm qualified to be an MP.
Good question, Samson. But you see, parliament, you are elected by your constituents, maybe 15,000 people, where there's no real scrutiny of your character or your experience or anything. Being a parliamentarian is not the same as being a president of a sovereign nation. International relations today, the changes that are occurring, what is the extent of your understanding in order to take this country to deal with the global context? So there's more to it. That's one area that I don't.
So two issues now almost around the same thing, but I want to take one more and then we'll take your comments.